This video course is designed to give you the exact information you need to make money from trading the financial markets. We've deliberately made it short and easy to watch while still keeping the training program effective. The reason we've simplified everything like this is so that even people that have no background in economics or finance can get to grips with the same topics and principles that professional traders apply every day on trading floors across London to make money. You will soon learn these principles and how you can apply them to make an income for yourself or begin a career as a professional trader if that is your goal. In this video, we're going to be looking at why trading exists, where it originated from, and how it actually plays a crucial role in the overall health and success of the global economy. Now, as traders, we are basically just trying to buy and sell things in order to make a profit. To illustrate this, we can use an example involving a market that almost everyone is familiar with in property. Now, when you buy a house, the general expectation is that over the years, the value of that house will go up, so that when you eventually sell the house, you end up with more money than you paid originally, thus making a profit. Now, the process of buying and selling things to make a profit is called speculation. So trading, as we do it, is known as being a speculative activity. The big key difference between buying houses and trading financial markets is that as a trader, we are normally looking to make our profits over a much shorter period of time instead of waiting years and years. A trader can buy or sell something and make a profit within seconds in certain circumstances, which makes trading a much more attractive activity for people looking to make an extra income from home. The principles you're going to learn in this course are obviously based heavily on the methods taught inside professional firms like the ones I work with in London, and can be applied to pretty much any financial market, including things like oil, gold, stocks and shares, and of course, Forex. But before we get into that, it is very important to understand the underlying reasons that trading exists and where we fit into the overall market as speculative traders. Because although we trade for pure profit, we also serve a vital purpose to the market as a whole. And without speculators like us, there would be no stability in the global financial system and everything would grind to a sudden halt. To properly explain this, we have to go back to where it all began, the birthplace of all modern day speculative trading, the futures market. Now, back in the good old days, there were farmers who provided commodities that people physically used, such as corn, wheat, meat and dairy. And then there were producers who took those raw commodities and turned them into products that normal everyday people could buy and use, such as bread, cereal, burgers and drinks. The problem was that sometimes during periods of good weather, the farmer would have an oversupply of commodities, which in turn meant the producers had lots to choose from and forced the prices lower, as all the farmers naturally competed with each other just to sell what they had on offer to support their families. During times of terrible weather, the farmers had the upper hand because the few that managed to grow and offer their commodities during that difficult period now had no competition, and all the producers suddenly had to pay sky-high prices, which they had to pass on to, of course, a very annoyed customer. This cycle of boom and bust was no good for anyone, and everyone craved a way to keep things much more stable without all the volatility and wild swings in price. And this is where the futures contract was invented. The futures contract is basically a legal agreement between a supplier of commodities and a producer of goods. And that agreement states that the supplier will provide a specific commodity to a certain standard of quality to the producer to buy at a pre-arranged fixed price on a specific date in the future. Just think about this for a minute. Suddenly, a farmer knew that, for example, in 12 months' time, when his crop was ready, he will have a producer ready and waiting to pay him an agreed price on a specific date. This was great for the farmer because he was much more certain of having his costs covered and being able to support his family. And it was also great for the producer because he knew that when the crops were ready, he wasn't going to get any nasty surprises on the price. So he could more accurately forecast the growth and development of his business. So all was well in the world. At this point, you've probably noticed that neither of these people are actually trying to make a profit from their trade. They are merely trying to protect their main individual business interests. And you'd be right. These type of traders are called hedgers because they are trying to protect against risk rather than make a profit. It didn't take long, however, for a new type of trader to be born. Of course, we are talking about the speculator. Now, on an individual level, the speculator saw an opportunity here to make wonderful, easy profits. He could simply do some research, try and figure out whether the harvest was going to be plentiful or low, and then buy and sell futures contracts accordingly. So if the speculator thought that crop yields would be low for any reason, and he knew that prices would naturally rise in the near future, and he would have an eager market of producers to sell that contract to later on for a healthy profit. Now, it's important to just clarify that a futures contract has an expiry date, and when that date arrives, there's a legal obligation for the holder of it to either deliver or take delivery of the physical commodity in question. This is great for hedgers, but it's not so good for speculators who are only interested in making a profit from betting on the value of that contract rather than actually using the commodity or any of the related products that come from it. So this encourages speculators to be constantly buying and selling so that they can trade contracts frequently for their profits without holding them at the time when the delivery has to physically take place. Now, the other important thing to explain is that nowadays there can be a futures contract for almost anything that exists as a tangible asset. This includes everything from corn and wheat to stocks and shares of companies and even currencies. And to this day, there are two main types of trader, the hedger and the speculator, trading away for their own individual reasons. So this gives us a pretty interesting backstory to how speculative trading, like the kind we're going to teach you through this course, came about. But there is just one more important thing that we need to factor in. And this is actually the main reason that speculative traders like us are, of course, so important for the financial system. What we are talking about is something called liquidity. The term liquidity simply refers to how easy or difficult something is to buy or sell. So a higher number of more buyers and sellers equals higher liquidity in that particular market. The higher the level of liquidity in the market, the easier it is for everyone to buy and sell at the price where they would like, which in turn makes the exchange of goods and produce more efficient, which benefits most people in society because things become freely traded and available for use and consumption. Just for a second, imagine a world where it took months to buy some currency to go on holiday, or there was regular shortages of basic things such as food and building materials. Imagine if it took the same amount of time to do these basic things as it took to buy a house. Essentially, the world without liquidity would grind to a halt and general standards of living would plummet pretty quickly. A lot of people believe that speculators and speculation of financial markets in general is a bad thing that creates a lot of risk. In reality, the exact opposite is true. It's the speculators that absorb all the risk from the other market participants, such as the hedgers, with the goal of making a profit. They also inadvertently make the market they are speculating on much more liquid, which in turn makes it easier for everyone to do business and keep the whole system moving freely. Now, we're just going to illustrate this by looking at it in a very basic way, by looking at a little example. So let's take two large companies. The first large company, Company A, has some oil to sell in order to generate some profit from their large reserves. But they are only prepared to sell at $25 per barrel. Company B wants to buy the oil, but they will only pay $15 per barrel. At this point, there is a difference between the best buy price and the sell price, and the difference is almost too large to negotiate with, so the deal is at risk of grinding to a halt. However, at the same time, speculator X thinks that there will be a harsh winter, which in turn will push the price of oil up over the coming weeks. So he is prepared to pay $20 for a barrel of oil based on those beliefs. Meanwhile, speculator Y is convinced that there'll be a warm winter, which means lower oil prices over the coming weeks, and so he's willing to sell his barrels of oil at just $22. What's happened in this hypothetical scenario is that there was previously a wide market where there was no speculators present. For example, $15 buy price, $25 sell price. But thanks to the speculators, these prices available are now 20 buy, 22 sell. Both hedgers, the two companies, have had significant improvements in the price gap in which they would have otherwise been forced to make a much worse deal. What the speculator has done is provide crucial liquidity and better prices for everyone. In a market without these risk takers, it would be basically impossible for other participants to agree on a price because sellers want the highest price and buyers always want the lowest. It would not be cost or time efficient to find offsetting hedgers, so speculators bridge this gap between buy and sell prices, thus making the market more efficient and competitive. In short, speculators increase the number of ready buyers and sellers in any given market that they are operating within, while also helping the market to display the most competitive prices possible at all times. So as you can now see, we are not just profit-hungry traders. In fact, almost without knowing it, we contribute and create a system that makes everything perfectly efficient and liquid, ensuring that things run smoothly and deals get done. So now we have the backstory to trading. The next step is to start understanding how those professional speculators are trained to do it in a way that generates a consistent income for their firms or for themselves.